as I mentioned to you, we have a very interesting session on oral communication and functional English. Let me say at the beginning itself that why we have kept functional English in this session, in this whole program. I've been telling you, and Dr. Punia has also mentioned in his inaugural address, that
this one?
Okay. That communication is communication. It is not bounded by any language. We can speak in English, Hindi, Punjabi, whatever your language is. And language should not be a barrier in communication. Normally, it becomes a barrier many times. But then, why we have kept this session on functional English and oral communication? English word is here. You know why? Because whatever we may say that I love my language, I love Hindi being my national language, I love Punjabi being my mother tongue. But then when it comes to business, it is English. Even in the countries where people at large do not speak English at all. For example, I have the opportunity to visit Germany and Korea, and countries like Korea and Germany and many other countries where people do not like to speak English and they do not know English also. And I have apprehension that how will I communicate with the people there? But then for the purpose I have gone there, everybody was able to interact with me in English. They had given me a translator also for some of the people who were not able to communicate, but then translator was not knowing Hindi, he was knowing English. So he will use, listen from them in Germany or in Korean language and then translate in English, and I cannot understand. And I was speaking to him in English and he was translating in their own native language. But by and large, wherever you go in the world, for any purpose, you will find people in the business talks in English language. And I always recommend that our students should have a bare minimum proficiency level in English speaking also, in English speaking and understanding English also. So that is why we have kept a session on, I have requested Madam Mohita Saxsena, who is already with us as the expert for this session, functional English and oral communication. Let me give you a brief introduction about the speaker. Madam Mohita Saxsena, she has done her graduation from MCM DAV College, Chandigarh in English honors. And then she has done her post-graduation, that is Masters in English from Punjab University, Chandigarh. And she has also done her B.Ed from Delhi. Throughout her educational career, she has been a very brilliant student. And she is UGC NET qualified and CTET qualified English and Social Studies teacher also. Let me tell you, she is presently pursuing her PhD from the Department of English and Cultural Studies in Punjab University on mobile assisted language learning under the supervision of Dr. Deepti Gupta. She's also a very renowned teacher in this part of the countries. In Punjab University, everybody will, in Chandigarh, I would say, everybody will know her, that Dr. Deepti Gupta, and happens to be, we enjoy a very good relationship among ourselves also. And she has done a lot of research work. She's been selected, Madam Mohita, selected for US Immersion Institute by US Department of State, US Embassy, for undergoing training cum immersion program in the United States in June 2014. She's been adjudged as a best paper presenter at Amity International ELT conference in 2014, received grant from US Embassy in India for a research project, Let Girls Be Heard, on English language learning in India. She attended the first ever TESOL. TESOL is a course which some of you might be interested to join, especially my friends in the English language. Teachers of English to speakers of other languages. TESOL stands for that. Academy in Chandigarh on 24th and 25th April. That was in which year, ma'am?
2015.
2015. And she has attended number of seminars and webinars and webcasts at University of California, University of Oregon, and a number of places. She has presented 3 papers on mobile assisted language learning, the next big thing in the education paradigm, at Chandigarh Social Science Congress, English language teaching and learning in the area of internet linguistic at MIT International ELT Conference, Lucknow, mobile assisting language learning, the next big thing in the educational paradigm, e-compilation, Chandigarh Social Science Congress. She has also published 2 publications are at her credit. Fiction, Love is Always New. She has published 1 novel in Criterion International Peer Review Journal, and Discourse Analysis in the ESL Classroom Beyond Words, E-Compilation, Department of English Education, Vidya.
This is in Indonesia.
Yeah, in Indonesia. Jalan Dino is the place.
Yeah.
And she has a vast experience of delivering lectures at various platforms in different organizations. The list is very long. She has been a resource person to this institute and to organizations like IT Park in Chandigarh also. She's been approached by many corporate houses, and presently she has her own academy. I like to request Madam Mohita to talk about your academy also, about in the English. She has been working as a professor in English at SD College, Sector 32, Chandigarh, where she took volunteer retirement last year to start her own academy. With this small introduction, I like to request Madam Mohita Saxsena to kindly engage session on functional English and oral communication. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. All right. To begin with, I'm an English language teacher primarily. I've always loved English literature. I loved reading it. I loved exploring it. But I think my passion has always been in the language per se. So whereas I've had my fair share of interactions with, Shakespearean texts and everything that we have, we talk about classics and everything. But my passion lies in English language and in following the dynamism that it follows. And it is primarily for this reason that I decided pretty early on in my career that I needed to do something different. And, I came out from college and I started with my own language venture. So these days, what I do is I train teachers, a lot of teachers and young learners of English and even very young learners of English. So I deal with all age groups, and I primarily work for British Council, British High Commission and US Embassy these days. And what I do is I go around the world training teachers and training learners about how easy it is to learn English and how effortless it can be only if we make it a part of our everyday communication. Apart from that, I've just penned down a book on linguistics, which is the language of the science of a language and its pronunciation. So Orient Longswan will be, publishing it in a couple of months as of now. But why have I spoken to, interact with you on the topic of functional English and oral communication is that, these are 2 aspects which any language teacher needs to have, without which we are incomplete. हम ऐसे times में रह रहे हैं where if we don't talk with our students in English, somehow, I don't know what is the connection, but their respect level for the teacher tends to go down, कि उनकी English बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छी नहीं है, और अगर English बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छी है तो teacher शायद overqualified लगने लगता है या बहुत impressive लगने लगता है, So somehow you cannot undermine the importance of English for a teacher in today's world. Now, talking about various aspects of English, especially in, with respect to English teachers in India, कुछ ऐसी दिक्कतें हैं जो हमेशा से रही हैं और आई थिंक रहेंगी आगे आने वाले टाइम्स में भी, और वो है हमारा इंटरफेरेंस विद इंग्लिश एज अ लैंग्वेज. वी इंडियंस टेंड टू फॉरगेट दैट हर भाषा की एक अपनी मर्यादा है, एंड उसे उसी तरीके से याद या सीखना पड़ता है. यू कैन नॉट कंबाइन. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, बहुत सालों तक इंडिया में ये ट्रेंड रहा है, ड्यूरिंग द गुरु शिष्य परंपरा एंड देन आफ्टरवर्ड्स एज वेल, दैट हम इंग्लिश को ट्रांसलेट करके पढ़ाते थे हिंदी में. एंड दिस यूज्ड टू बी कॉल्ड, this method of teaching used to be called the grammar translation method, जहां आपको सिखा दिया गया, जैसे मेल मतलब लड़का मतलब बॉय, उसके लिए ही यूज करना है, लड़की मतलब शी, उसके लिए हर यूज करो या कुछ भी. बट देन व्हाट हैपेंस इज, एक चीज जो समझने वाली बात है वो ये है that both these languages, हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश, हैव डिफरेंट ग्रामर्स. उन दोनों की व्याकरण डिफरेंट है. सो इसीलिए जो जहां तक लिटरल ट्रांसलेशन की बात है, अगर आपको ये कहना है दैट शी इज अ गर्ल, वो लड़की है, आप उसे लिटरली नहीं ट्रांसलेट कर सकते. I see a lot of students, especially young students, carrying Hindi to English translation dictionaries with them कि हमें उससे help मिल जाती है. वो आपको सिर्फ words का translation बता सकती है. It cannot teach you the entire sentence pattern or language per se. And इसी सब चीजों के कारण जो mistakes, especially teachers की communication में आ गई है, I'm going to talk about those things today in this session. First of all, as a teacher, I realize, और मैं हर age group को पढ़ाती हूँ, since I train teachers and students, doctors, even engineers for spoken English, so I deal with people who are 45, 50 also. And I deal with young children who are 6, 7 or 8 as well. So एक चीज which as a teacher I'm very particular about, और मैं भी अपने student days में ध्यान रखती थी, वो ये था that जनरली जो बात टीचर कहती है या कहता है क्लास में, बच्चे उसे दे कंसिडर इट एज द अल्टीमेट गॉस्पेल ट्रूथ, कि वो बिल्कुल सच है और उसमें जरा सी भी गलती की गुंजाइश नहीं होती. बट व्हाट इज बीइंग नोटिस दीज डेज इज टीचर्स जाने अनजाने में बड़े ही फ्लुएंटली रॉन्ग इंग्लिश का यूज करते हैं अपनी क्लासरूम्स में, एंड दे डोंट रियलाइज दैट व्हाट दे सेड is going to be quoted, misquoted and repeatedly quoted a lot of times by their students. So हमारे लिए जरूरी है, we may use more or less English while teaching in the class, but whatever we use should be and absolutely correct, accurate. I'm going to talk about something which is called Indian English. Now what is Indian English? English overall around the world is a standard language. उसका एक ही ग्रामर है, एक ही लिटरेचर है, एक ही लैंग्वेज सिस्टम है, बट डिफरेंट डिफरेंट जगहों पे डिफरेंट डिफरेंट तरीके से उसे मॉडिफाई किया गया है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड कि हम ब्रिटिश इंग्लिश यूज करते हैं इंडिया में, एंड देयर इज समथिंग एल्स व्हिच इज कॉल्ड अमेरिकन इंग्लिश ऑल्सो. ऐसे ही बहुत सारी इंग्लिशेस हैं. इन ऑलमोस्ट एवरी कंट्री एंड कॉन्टिनेंट हैज इट्स ओन इंग्लिश. बट व्हाट हैज हैपेंड इज, इनिशियली हमें बचपन में ये सिखाया गया दैट primarily English के दो versions हैं. One is Indian, the other is British. British English correct होती है, इसलिए हम वो follow करते हैं. American English wrong है, इसलिए हम वो follow नहीं करते. For example, British English says the spellings of color are going to be COLOUR, and American says no, it's going to be COLOR. और आपने आजकल देखा होगा जो आज के बच्चों की प्राइमरी स्टूडेंट्स की बुक्स हैं, उसमें सब में COLOR आ गया है वापस. Now what is that? See, none of the Englishes are wrong. The only thing is, after the year 2000, जब इंटरनेट और कंप्यूटर्स बहुत ही लार्ज स्केल पे दुनिया भर में आए, credited with US inventors. For example, MS Word आया, Google आया, इंटरनेट एक्सप्लोरर आया हमारी लाइफ में. ये सारी एप्लीकेशंस यूएस में डेवलप हुई थी, और इनके अंदर जो इंग्लिश फिटेड है, that is American English. So that is why the world has now taken a shift. We no longer follow British English. Whatever is there on Google, Facebook, Twitter, Skype, it is all American. And that is why the confusion is there. But one thing that we need to remember as English teachers is that there is something called Indian English. And what is that Indian English? in English which has been modified in the Indian subcontinent. हम लोग कैसे यूज करते हैं English? किस किस तरह से हम उसे यूज करते हैं आजकल? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हमने इंग्लिश को सीखते सीखते हम ये भूल गए दैट वो एक स्टैंडर्ड लैंग्वेज है एंड वी वर नॉट सपोज टू ट्वीक इट. हमने उसे अपने तरीके से बदल दिया है. इंडियन इंग्लिश वो इंग्लिश है जो स्टैंडर्ड इंग्लिश नहीं है, लेकिन इंडियंस अनइंटेंशनली उसे बड़े कॉन्फिडेंटली यूज करते हैं और रॉन्ग एक्सप्रेशन यूज करते हैं इन देयर लैंग्वेज. I'm going to take you to few of the most common utterances, ऐसे sentences या questions जो हम बिना सोचे समझे रोजमर्रा की लाइफ में यूज कर रहे हैं. Let's start with the first one. हिंदी में हमारे यहाँ there's a way of asking, आपका शुभ नाम क्या हुआ, So what have we done is we have translated it into English. May I know your good name? If you ask an American, may I know your good name? He'll definitely tell you back, okay, this is my good name, but do you want to know my bad name as well? So basically there's nothing called good name. जब आप हिंदी में पूछे तो of course आपका शुभ नाम, but English में may I know your name? There's nothing called good name. And therefore I've seen a lot of teachers, especially जब introductory classes होती है तो अपने students से पूछते हैं what is your good name? What is your good name? No, there's nothing called good name. Second thing, मैं आपको revert back नहीं कर पाया. Sorry, I couldn't revert back to you. Revert word का ही मतलब होता है reply back. So sorry, I couldn't revert to you. Simple. Next, foreign country. मेरी family foreign country गई हुई है, मेरे बच्चे foreign country में पढ़ते. There's nothing called foreign country. The only concept is either foreign or abroad. किसी country का नाम foreign country नहीं है. So any country which is outside your country, be it Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, is a foreign country. So just foreign or abroad. Okay, more better. You could have attained more better marks had you studied. Again, these are two comparatives. ये adjectives हैं जो compare करते हैं, more and better. दोनों ही चीजों का same मतलब है. So you could have either got more marks or you could have gotten better marks. More better is nothing. I'm going out of station for a week. Another very popularly used expression. Out of station doesn't mean that आप चंडीगढ़ से बाहर गए थे. Out of station could even mean कि मैं चंडीगढ़ स्टेशन पे ना होके मैं बिल्कुल adjoining city पंचकुला में था या जीरकपुर में था. So I was out of town and not station. But ये एक ऐसा utterance है जो हिंदी, English, पंजाबी तीनों में बहुत धड़ल्ले से चलता है, which is wrong, which is not standard English. Next is I'm missing my near and dear ones in the new city. Now there is no expression. अपने आसपास वालों को मैं मिस कर रहा हूँ, अपने करीबी लोगों को. Now this I think was an invention of an Indian mind कि करीबी लोगों के लिए वो मेरे near भी हैं और वो मेरे दिल के भी करीब हैं, so near and dear. There is no expression. अगर आप कभी कोई if you pick up a Hallmark or Archie's card, you will never find something like near ones. Dear ones समझ आता है, near ones doesn't matter. So again, an expression not to be used. He is my cousin brother. Now the only expression that stands for standard English is cousin. अब अगर आप कहते हैं, for example, अगर यहाँ एक boy खड़ा and if I tell you that he is my cousin, obviously वो brother है क्योंकि वो male है. और अगर obviously कोई female खड़ी हो and if I say she is my cousin, so वो sister ही है. You don't have to add gender to it. Cousin brother, cousin sister कुछ नहीं होता. Cousin only. Next. I ordered for a coffee. या आप कहते हो I would like to order for a tea. Order itself has a for in it. So I order a coffee. Yeah, I ordered a coffee. Yeah, I would like to order a samosa, whatever. No for to be used. Next, this is again a very, very cultural specific usage. हम जब भी किसी के बारे में कुछ कहना चाहते हैं, so Indians की habit होती है, to dig up information, खोद के निकालना और फिर खोद के बताना. Even if a divorcee is a divorcee. And this is especially used, when we talk about colleagues, when teachers talk about their colleagues or students, you don't have to specify whether that divorcee has children or not from the previous marriage. She's a divorcee, he's a divorcee, that's it. Whether they had children, who is having the child now, is it with the father or mother, nothing to do with that. The standard English says, You never have to get personal with anybody's information. So a divorcee is a divorcee. I went to see an interesting cinema with my family last night. See, cinema is nothing. It could either be a film or a movie. सिनेमा वर्ड आया है हिंदी के वर्ड सिनेमा से, यू नो, विच मेंट कि हाँ पिक्चर देखने जा रहे हैं. बट इंग्लिश सिनेमा इज नथिंग, अ फिल्म और अ मूवी. आई गो टू द ऑफिस बाय एन ऑटो. ऑटो वर्ड एक एब्रिविएशन है विच मीन्स ऑटोमेटिक. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू हैव एन ऑटोमेटिक वॉशिंग मशीन, you have an automatic juicer, whatever. But auto अपने आप में कुछ नहीं है. So even if you want to say now, you know, जिसको हम Indian language में auto कहते हैं, that's basically an auto rickshaw, because उस रिक्शे के पीछे बैटरी लगी हुई है, so that's become automatic. So using the term auto in English is not justified. So you either specify I came by an auto rickshaw or an auto bike, या क्या चीज. Yeah. Again, teachers always use this expression, don't sit on my head. You know, मेरे सर पे चढ़ के मत बैठो. Now, this again, ये एक हिंदी expression था. सर पे मत बैठो. Some intelligent person from India probably would have translated it into English. Sit on my head. Whereas it is nothing. ये कुछ भी नहीं है. आप ये कह सकते हैं, don't get on my nerves. But that's a standard expression. But sit on my head, you're dancing on my head. Nothing. मेरे सर पे चढ़ के नाच रहे हैं लोग. Nothing, no expression. Another word, all my brothers are convent educated. Usually matrimonials में बहुत ही frequently use होता है, no? Convent educated girl wanted, या convent educated boy. Educated, simply. God, at the max you can maybe add, वो भी अब जमाना निकल गया, that English medium educated या कुछ. आजकल everybody is English medium educated, so simply educated. Next. She's not pretty. She has a wheatish complexion. Now, again, wheatish complexion is again an invention of an Indian mind, because the Britishers were goras, and हम अपने आप को ना गोरा समझते हैं, ना हम अपने आप को काला समझते हैं Africans की. तो हमने सोचा कि हमारी बुराई भी ना हो, तारीफ भी हो जाए. तो we came up with a complexion. हमारा गेहुआ रंग है, no, wheatish complexion. There's nothing called wheatish. You either a fair or you are a dark complexion person. That is it. And Indians, primarily North Indians, fall in the category of fair, and South Indians slightly dark. But nobody is wheatish as such. Yeah, we wish to discuss about politics. Teachers usually, when they start their classes, introduction ऐसी होती है, we are going to discuss about this thing today. For example, today we're going to discuss about computers and their parts. You don't discuss about something. You discuss something. So we are going to discuss computers and their parts today. Next, my boss is foreign returned. There is no expression which is foreign returned. Nothing. For example, my household helps. They all come from Nepal, but they don't say we are foreign returned. So nothing. You are not foreign returned. Kuch bhi nahi. Yeah, my cousin is a bore, and he eats my head all the time. Nobody eats in head. Again, ये translation है, दिमाग खाता है. So what can you say? He irritates me, he disturbs me, you know, but nothing, nobody eats your head practically. Another very common Indian expression, I have a doubt. Now you don't really have a doubt. I have a query is the correct word, but not I have a doubt. Again, from the matrimonial sections, my sister is a very homely girl. What is homely? Gharelu, right? But that doesn't mean that agar wo homely. See, again, ये एक expression था जो 1950s, 60s में invent हुआ कि घर पे रहने वाली जो बाहर नहीं घूमती. Nowadays, no girl is a homely girl. Even if she's not working, Indians confuse करते हैं कि जो housewife है वो homely है because she stays within the house. But basically, homely means जो कभी चार दीवारी से बाहर ना निकले, like the people we had in the parda system way back. So, homely is no expression. She is a very, you know, caring girl. She likes to stay at home. But homely, standard English says, is no word. Yeah, this is very interesting. He passed out from college in 2002. Pass out means to faint, whereas we confuse it with द फैक्ट कि किसी ने डिग्री ले ली, कि वो उस ईयर में वो डिग्री लेके पास हो गए कॉलेज में, बट इंडियंस यूज इट इन द वे पास्ड आउट, और यू कैन से आई एम अ पास आउट फ्रॉम दैट कॉलेज, यानी मैं उस कॉलेज से निकला हुआ हूँ, आई एम अ प्रोडक्ट ऑफ दैट कॉलेज. बट आई पास्ड आउट फ्रॉम कॉलेज मीन्स मैं 2002 में एक बार बेहोश हो गया था कॉलेज में. सो दैट इज एन एक्सप्रेशन दैट यू मस्ट नेवर नेवर यूज इन द क्लास. Next, I have requested the committee to prepone the meeting. Now, postpone is a word, लेकिन prepone is nothing. ये again हमने सोचा अच्छा pone मतलब काम, post मतलब देर से कर दो, तो pre मतलब पहले हो जाता होगा, nothing. You can't prepone anything. आप ये कह सकते हैं let's do it before the schedule, but not prepone it. Prepone is no word. I asked the manager to do the needful as earliest as possible. हमें ये लगता है that do the needful का मतलब है जो आपको करना चाहिए वो आपको कर देना चाहिए. This is one expression जो कभी भी spoken English में नहीं यूज होता. You always write it only in application. That too जब वो आप application अपने से किसी बड़े को लिख रहे हैं और उन्हें बार बार order नहीं कर सकते. So you can only request them. आप सिर्फ निवेदन कर सकते हैं, तो आप ये लिख देते हैं कि लास्ट लाइन ऑफ द लेटर कि जो चीज मैं आपको बार बार बोल चुका हूं, आप प्लीज दोबारा एक बार आपको याद दिलाना चाहता हूं कि प्लीज आप मेरा काम कर दें. सो आई रिक्वेस्ट यू टू डू द नीडफुल, बट यू डोंट यूज इट इन एवरीडे एक्सप्रेशन दैट डू द नीडफुल आई टोल्ड यू. नो. नेक्स्ट इज वी वर बैचमेट्स इन द कॉलेज ईयर्स बैक. ईयर्स बैक कुछ नहीं होता, ईयर्स अगो. एंड आजकल ईयर्स की जगह भी हम इनफैक्ट एजेस बोलना शुरू हो गए हैं. अगर आजकल हमें कहना होता है दैट फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू मीट समबडी एंड यू वांट टू टेल देम दैट मैं आपसे बहुत टाइम बाद मिल रहा हूँ या कितने ही साल हो गए, सो वी डोंट से ईयर्स अगो. नाउअडेज द एक्सप्रेशन दैट वी यूज इज डोंकीज ईयर्स. दैट डोंकीज ईयर्स बैक, डोंकीज ईयर्स अगो वी वर टुगेदर. और एजेस, it's been ages since I saw you last. We don't use the word back or ago any longer. Ages. Next, again, typical Indian English expression, do one thing. Literal translation for ek kaam karo zara yahan hua. So do one thing is nothing. A better way of saying it would be, why don't you do this? Or okay, I have an idea, let's do it this way. Do one thing kuch bhi nahi hai. Next, blunder, mistake. Mistake is a गलती. Blunder is a बहुत horrible गलती जो बिल्कुल सुधारी ना जा सके. So blunder, mistake कुछ नहीं है. You've made a blunder. You've made a blunder means तुमने ऐसी गलती कर दी है जिसका कोई इलाज नहीं है. And mistake is a small गलती. So blunder, mistake is nothing, but they're different expressions. Okay. Now after this, we come on to a few words which are frequently mispronounced. And I'll read out the introduction to you. English is one of the most widely spoken languages in the world. Now, anywhere up to 1.8 billion people around the world speak English. It is easy to learn and flexible. In spite of that, there are many words which are mispronounced by many people. This may be because of the fact that English is not their native language and they have their own regional accent. Now, what is regional accent? You must have noticed that South Indians have a typical way. For example, if they want to say 99, they'll say 99, They have a different accent to it. Punjabis have a different accent. In fact, throughout Punjab, we frequently face this problem. किसी भी चीज को वो स नहीं बोलते. Like if you want to say support, तो वो sport हो जाता है. If you want to say Saturday, वो Saturday बना दिया है. So there's a different way. This is a regional accent. Petrol ko patrol ho gaya hai wo. So even if they want to say it in English, for example, if somebody wants to say, I need to get some petrol refilled in my car, they'll say, I need to get some petrol refilled in my car. So what happens? You take away the beauty of the language. अगर मैं हिंदी, for example, एक चीज जो हमें ध्यान में रखनी है as English teachers or anything, every language has a tune. हर language की एक सुर और ताल है. When you say Hindi, for example, अगर आप हिंदी में कहते हैं that ये कमल का फूल है. Hindi is a flat language. You don't sing Hindi. But English is a flowing language. You don't say this is a lotus flower. You say this is a lotus flower. So बहुत सारे उतार चढ़ाव हैं. And this is primarily the main problem which Indians face. हमने English को भी बिल्कुल flat बनाया हुआ है. Whereas it is not required. जैसे and the only English sentence जिसमें हम English को sing song language use करते हैं वो है जब बच्चे स्कूल में teachers को wish करते हैं good morning. I remember I was in Washington DC in American University, and we had a huge group of Indian students that had come there. And as soon as few of the American teachers and teachers from India also entered, I was also a part of that committee that entered. So the entire auditorium got up and they were like, good morning, teachers. And the American teachers were surprised. So they waited. They said, Hame laga, that's a song that they're probably going to start singing. So they said, what is that? So we had a very tough time explaining to them that that's how they made to wish teachers in India. And ये continued रहता है. I've never seen any teacher जो आके टोके कि बेटा आप गा के क्यों बोल रहे हो. But अच्छा good afternoon ma'am simple होता है, good afternoon ma'am. लेकिन वो जो सुबह की जो वो first good morning होती है वो हमेशा बहुत गा के which is wrong. हाँ ज़्यादा एनर्जी होती है उस टाइम पे, which is absolutely wrong, because either you don't sing it or you sing, at least understand that there's a tune to every sentence. English ये कहती है that हर word एक particular time limit में शुरू और खत्म हो जाना चाहिए. For example, हिंदी में you say घोड़ा, flat, or you say पर्दा, flat. But English में when you say horse, it goes up. When you say curtain, it goes up. Similarly, when you say sit down, it goes down. हर चीज का एक टाइम फिक्स्ड है. इंग्लिश एक स्ट्रेस टाइम लैंग्वेज है. अगर उससे ज्यादा फोर्स या टाइम लगे तो उसकी ब्यूटी बिगड़ जाती. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई कम एंड से दिस इज अ हॉर्स, सो व्हाट हैव आई डन? जितना टाइम लगना है उससे ज्यादा टाइम मैंने लगा दिया तो उसकी ब्यूटी चली गई. एंड यही प्रॉब्लम हमें प्रोनाउंसिएशन में आती है. What I've done here is there's a list of 30 very very commonly mispronounced words जो बहुत ज्यादा commonly use होते हैं. और क्या mispronunciation है और क्या correct pronunciation है, I'm going to tell you both. For example, first word that I've taken up here is ALMOND, which basically means badam. So अगर आप टीवी में भी सुने, advertisements में भी सुने, तो सब उन्हें almond pronounce करते हैं. Whereas what is the correct pronunciation? Almond. Almond. There's no sound of L in that. But I was doing something and I remember there was this Vidya Balan ad. Even that said almond oil. So that is Hindi. But the English says almond. Next, BURY, which means किसी चीज को दफनाना. For example, Christians bury their dead, Muslims bury their dead. हम बोलते हैं इसे bury है, but the pronunciation is berry. Like you say strawberry, raspberry, so it's berry. Next, very commonly used. In fact, the other day, I was taking a workshop in British Council, and one of my very good colleagues from American Embassy, but she's an Indian. So she called up. So I disconnected her call. She again called up. I again disconnected. Then she texted me, please pick up my phone. But then I picked up. I said, I'm in a workshop. So she said, मुझे सिर्फ एक ही चीज पूछनी है कि जिसको हम हिंदी में डेंगू बोलते हैं उसे इंग्लिश में बोलते क्या है? She says, I'm waiting to meet my doctor. But मैं कैसे बोलूं, मुझे pronunciation नहीं आती. It is dengue, not dengue. But दिक्कत क्या है, हम हिंदी के न्यूज़पेपर्स पढ़ते हैं, हिंदी के इश्तिहार सुनते हैं और वही वर्ड्स हम यूज करते हैं. It is dengue. Next, dessert, which means जिसे हम इंडिया में sweet dish कहते हैं. Beyond India, you go anywhere, even in countries जो बहुत पास है हमारे, like Nepal and all, उन्हें भी sweet dish का concept नहीं पता. What is it? Dessert. DESERT रेगिस्तान होता है. That is desert. But DESSERT is dessert. Next, is there okay. Next word is CHEDULE. इंडियंस अभी भी अगर आप मिडिल एज या ओल्ड एल्डरली जनरेशन की बात करें, सो दे कॉल इट शेड्यूल. क्या शेड्यूल है ट्रेन का या मैरिज का शेड्यूल क्या है. वेयर इज बीच में दे केम अ टाइम अराउंड 97 to 2005 जब इससे लोग स्केड्यूल बोलना शुरू हो गए थे. स्केड्यूल बिकॉज दैट साउंडेड डिफरेंट और लोगों को बोलने में लगता था हम थोड़े रिफाइन लग रहे हैं. बट दीज डेज व्हाट इज द एग्जैक्ट प्रोनाउंसिएशन? इट इज स्केड्यूल. So it's schedule. What is the schedule? So as for example, अगर हमें translate करना हो pronunciation के लिए, sched.
Is it according to British or
American? American, yes.
This is but I guess as per British, this is schedule.
No, as per British, it is schedule.
Okay.
Schedule.
Schedule. Okay,
Yeah.
and that is schedule.
Schedule. They say "d", we say "d" and then "j". Schedule. See, why languages are changing? शुरू से ही British hegemony रही है as far as languages were concerned, and of course they were the native, they were the natives who primarily used it. Because of technology and America becoming a superpower, all the documentation in the world has gone topsy-turvy. So whether it's science, technology, medicine, engineering, they've taken a front seat. And जितने भी devices आ रहे हैं, for example, even if you go to iOS, Apple's softwares, any pronunciation part, it is all Americanized. And it is because of that, जितनी news agencies and media agencies हैं around the world, they've now started adopting the American manners. And that calls for a change. Initially what happened, जब किसी word को dictionary में आना होता था, Oxford में आना किसी word के लिए used to be, its ultimate victory. It used to take about 50-60 years. एक word आया, किसी ने कहीं use किया, in a लिखित manner, वो translate, वो circulate हुआ, और जब 50-60 साल बाद लोगों ने उसको use करना शुरू कर दिया, तो वो dictionary में आ जाता था कि अब ये standard word है, और लोग उसे याद भी करते थे. But after 2000, what happened was, ये जो circulation थी, ये अचानक से fast track हो गई. So much so, the 2013 के बाद ऑक्सफोर्ड और कैम्ब्रिज ने डिक्शनरीज बनानी बंद कर दी हैं. उनकी प्रिंटेड डिक्शनरीज अब लेटेस्ट नहीं आती मार्केट में, सिर्फ ऑनलाइन आती हैं हर साल. What happened was 2011 में पहली बार एक वर्ड इन्वेंट हुआ, सेल्फी, एंड विद इन 6 months वो डिक्शनरी में इंक्लूड हो गया. The reason was वो इतनी जल्दी सर्कुलेट हो गया बिकॉज इंटरनेट एट दैट टाइम वाज स्प्रेडिंग एट अ लाइटनिंग स्पीड. एंड उसके बाद ये एक हेजेमनी रियलाइज हुई, स्पेशली टू ऑक्सफोर्ड एंड कैम्ब्रिज, ये दोनों ब्रिटिश एजेंसीज हैं, दैट नाउ वी कैन नॉट कम्पीट. सो उसके बाद से अमेरिकनाइजेशन ऑफ इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज और भी स्पीडी हो गया है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल वर्ड्स लाइक अनलाइक, अनफ्रेंड, ये सारे न्यू वर्ड्स हैं. अनलाइक का मतलब होता था डिसिमिलर पहले, जैसे अनलाइक माई फादर, आई डोंट वांट टू बी अ पोएट, आई वांट टू बी अ डॉक्टर. But अब क्या हो गया? Oh, I unlike it, which means I don't like it. So now Americans have taken forward, and now the Brits have said that okay, you have it. We allow you to rule the roost. So इसीलिए pronunciations बहुत जल्दी change हो रही है. For example, I think all of you, including me, मैंने A से Z तक language सीखी, letters सीखे, right? Nowadays the young children don't call Z as Z, they call it Z. Again, what is that? An Americanization. धीरे धीरे हर चीज चेंज हो रही है. सो दैट इज वाई स्केड्यूल. नेक्स्ट, zebra. We always called it zebra, but now we call it zebra because अब हम Z को Z नहीं Z बुलाते हैं. So if you want to, for example, if you want to tell somebody that the spellings of breeze are BREEZE, अब हम कहते हैं BREEZE. Next. Next word is niche. What is niche? A distinct kind of place. For example, let's say Amitabh Bachchan has created a niche for himself in Bollywood. उनकी एक अपनी जगह है बॉलीवुड में. पहले हम इसे, अभी भी इनफैक्ट हम इसे niche बुलाते हैं, but a certain coterie of intellectual teachers used to call it niche. That ये उनका niche है. But again, that was the British version, और अब American version है niche. And teachers के लिए बहुत frequently use होता है because आपको books वगैरह में अक्सर ये मिलता है. इस चीज ने अपनी एक, for example, I don't know, I mean, let's say computer engineering has created a distinct niche for itself. So niche. Next word. All over India, be it Hindi or whatever way, we call it a bowl. Whereas what is the actual word? Bowl. And people still don't know it. So it is bowl. Next, truth. But we call it as truth. Truth kya hai? The actual pronunciation is truth. You have to imagine as if there are two O's over there. So, for example, the ultimate truth is justice and not truth. Moving forward. Yeah. Now, until very recently, EPITOME used to be pronounced as epitome. For example, किसी भी चीज का एक जो आप कह सकते हैं बेस्ट उदाहरण हो, जैसे goddess Durga is the epitome of female strength, or Shiva is the epitome of aggression. But up, what is the latest pronunciation? Epitome. Epitome. Next, इस particular word की बहुत mispronunciations है इंडिया में, and the word is develop. Develop or develop. Whereas हम इसे कैसे बुलाते हैं? Develop. For example, अभी भी आप सुनेंगे like Haryana, Development Authority. The word is develop or develop. Develop. The best way to learn is जैसे D लिखा जाता है वैसे pronounce होता है इसमें. Develop. So Haryana Urban Development Authority. Next, you have all sorts of Punjabi, Bengali, Bhojpuri versions for it. And one of the most trickiest words to be pronounced. The actual pronunciation is pizza. But log say pizza, pizza, there are all sorts of ways to call it. It's pizza. The best way to remember is हमें लगता है कि I तो single है और छोटा है और double Z है, तो हम Z पे ज़्यादा जोर डालते हैं. But basically the trick is कि आप I पे ज़्यादा जोर डालें. So it's not pizza, it's pizza. Next, MONK, which means a sadhu or any religious follower. It is not monk, it is monk. In fact, we have a liquor, very popular liquor, old monk. But the pronunciation is monk. MUMONK को हम pronounce करते हैं as if it is MUNK. Another very common English word, but I think हर रोज I meet at least 10 new people जिन्होंने कभी use नहीं किया है, कभी सुना नहीं, which means and the word is yawnerer. ज़्यादातर लोग इसे genre pronounce करते हैं. What do you mean by a yawnerer? It is a category or type. For example, how many types of yawnerers do you have in Indian cinema? So, for example, हम कहते हैं movies के types हैं comedy, tragedy, biographies, documentary. So, a yawnerer is a community. It is a French word, but very commonly used. Next is Cute. But हम इसे pronounce करते हैं as if we're talking about a coat. It is cute. Next, again, commonly mispronounced words. पहले हम इसे ठीक pronounce करते थे, and अब हम इसे गलत करने लगे हैं. The actual pronunciation is sour. Sour. For example, sugar is sweet, lemons are sour. But लोग pronounce कैसे करते हैं, including English teachers? Sour. They feel that looks more refined, to pronounce. But the actual pronunciation is sour. For example, I don't like these golgappas because they're quite sour. Next, this is something more to do with, chemistry teachers and students. Bachpan se, even the way I learned it was ethyl, methyl. My husband is a doctor, even he calls them ethyl, methyl. But what is the correct pronunciation? Ethyl, methyl, and not ethyl, methyl. Next, salon. Salon is a very common expression which is coming up these days instead of what we used to call a parlor or a beauty parlor. So uski jagah everything is turning into a salon. But Indians kaise pronounce karte hain ise? Saloon, करेक्ट प्रोनाउंसिएशन क्या है? salon. एंड एन बहुत ही कम सुनाई देता है, सो ऑलमोस्ट साइलेंट बट नॉट एग्जैक्टली, सो इट इज salon. Next, Indians would call it police, and especially Punjabis, police to phone karo, what is the pronunciation? Police. The stress is on l and not p. Police. Next, I'm not very sure whether you've heard this word or not, but teaching fraternity may, especially in social sciences like philosophy, psychology, sociology, it's a very common expression which is called chauvinism. और इंडिया में हम इसे एक और नाम देते हैं which is male domination या patriarchy, जहाँ पे anything जहाँ पे males की बात ज्यादा सुनी जाए. So what is chauvinism? Chauvinism is a philosophy that says that males generally have a habit of kind of overpowering female minds and making them do things the way they want. So a lot of people call it chauvinism or chauvinism. The actual pronunciation is shaw. CH is being pronounced as sh. Chauvinism. Next, coupon. Very commonly we call it coupon. What is the actual pronunciation? Coupon. Pawn. P-A-W-N. Jaise, you have pawns when you play chess. Jo pyade hote hain, we call them pawn. So it is coupon. But even I agree कि कूपन इतना वाइडली यूज्ड वर्ड है दैट मुझे भी कहीं बोलते हुए कूपन ऐसा लग रहा होता है कि लोग सोचेंगे शायद मुझे ही नहीं आ रहा बोलना, आई एम ट्राइंग टू हैव अ फेक एक्सेंट, कि मैं बहुत ज्यादा स्टाइलिश बनने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ. ये अक्सर कई वर्ड्स के साथ है ये प्रॉब्लम, एंड कूपन इज वन ऑफ दोज. आई रिमेंबर आई यूज्ड इट समवेयर इन अ कॉन्फ्रेंस एंड एवरीबody was like, कौन गवा रहे हैं यहाँ पे, who's trying to fake an accent. But the actual pronunciation is coupon, and a lot of salons and restaurants have started using it. अब वो करने लगे हैं इन्हें use. Next, again, not only for physics but for other streams as well, हम इसे पहले gauge बोलते थे, जैसे wire gauge, जो you put up wire gauges, जिसे आप जाली के दरवाजे या खिड़कियां कहते हैं. But what is the correct pronunciation? Gauge. Next, raspberry. We don't pronounce per in it. It is not raspberry, it is raspberry. So P remains silent over here. Okay, monk we have done. Yawner we've done. Next is cocoa. You see it in a lot of coffee or dark chocolate ads. और ये I think हर किसी के दिमाग में, even मेरे दिमाग में भी, whenever I use a cocoa powder, it comes that why have we added an A to it अगर pronounce नहीं करना. So it is not cocoa, but it is cocoa. Next, caprice and not capris. इंडिया में तो बहुत ही widely commonly used word है capris दिखाओ, capris पहनो. What is the word? Caprice. But again, there are some words जो हमें पता होने चाहिए. You can correct somebody, but मैं भी दुकान पे जाके हिम्मत नहीं कर सकती है कहने की caprice दिखाओ. There are some words which will take time to get absorbed. Next, this is going to be slightly technical for you. I'll come to the next one. Very commonly used, plumber. Plumber को बुलाओ, plumber की fittings रह गई हैं. But pronunciation क्या है? Plumber. We don't pronounce B in it. I don't watch Punjabi movies, but I remember there's one Punjabi movie that I watched which was Love Punjab, and उसमें भी plumber का काम करता है. The entire movie was shot in Canada, was about Canada, and was about Canada's impact on India, but pronunciation was mispronounced. It is not plumber, it is plumber, and a lot of people these days are using it correctly, plumber. Next, when you say something, you pronounce it. लेकिन जो technique of उसे pronounce करने की होती है वो pronunciation होती है, and not pronunciation. Pronunciation. But जब आप उसे एक एक word को बोलते हैं तब हम उसे कहते हैं pronounce करना. Okay. This was a list of a few common words that as teachers of English we should have known. Now I want to talk about a few things जो teachers use करते हैं दिन भर या कर सकते हैं. For example, we have a habit, especially in, teacher बनते ही यही कहा जाता है, सबसे पहले एक चाल में उछाल आता है, and there's an authority in your voice. There's a very famous English dictum which says, once a teacher, always a teacher. And that is, I think that's there in the psyche of people. Maybe अगर अपने घर में, if I'm not working for 2 days, so my husband would tell me, तुमने सुबह से किसी को डांटा नहीं है, तो तुम मुझ पे शुरू हो गए,
Same thing happens with me. If I say something on Sundays, so husband is like, अच्छा lecture नहीं लिया है,
हाँ,
तो आज हमारी बारी है.
हाँ, आज हमारी बारी है. ये है एक, and people don't understand that ऐसा नहीं that we're looking for people to listen to us. Even students नहीं सुनते आजकल, I think, and that has been there. When we were students, अगर teacher कहीं canteen में भी दिख जाए, I remember we would always get up voluntarily and be very polite. आजकल तो you see the students in canteen, वो बैठे रहेंगे, शायद comment भी pass कर दें आपके ऊपर, and मतलब मैं as a teacher होके कभी हिम्मत नहीं कर पाती canteen में घुसने की. मुझे ऐसा लग रहा होता है that you will be the target. But this has also got to do with the way teaching community has, sort of presented itself to the students. अक्सर ये देखा गया है, last time I came to visit this center was some 1.5 months back, and my topic of discussion that day was something to do with soft skills. That how can teachers use those, or they were about expressions कि आप कैसे, sweet, simple, inspiring sentences use कर सकते हैं to make your students effective. So throughout the session, it was in some other department here. So the teachers kept listening to me. After the session, they told me that, ma'am, अगर हम आपकी techniques use करें, so how long do you think it will take for the students कि हमारी बात माने? I said 6-7 महीने. तो सर उससे बेटर है हम तो एक लपड़ मारते हैं उन्हें. And I was surprised. I said, which part of India are you from? So they said Haryana, and a few of them said Bangalore. So I said, which category of students do you teach? So they said undergraduates and engineers. So I said, you really need to have nerves कि आप बड़े-बड़े लड़कों को मारें, first of all, and then एक तो क्यों मारें? They're grown up. Secondly, खुद के पिटने का खतरा. आज आप मारे, कल वो मारे. But they were very assertive. They said, we don't believe in, requesting the students. For example, if a student is not listening to me, हम तो उसे, we hit him and we tell him, जाओ बाहर झाड़ू लगाओ. So somewhere, teaching community ने अपने आप को ऐसा बनाया है that students have stopped respecting us. And we need to understand one thing that I think the best tool for a teacher is the tongue. मुझे भी अभी तक याद है, whenever I go, for example, university or college, I used to be the head for my department, for Department of English. सबसे neglected subjects होता है बच्चों के लिए, but हालांकि they always look up to their English teachers. कैसे बोलना है, कैसे बैठना है, कभी कोई function हो तो मैम हम कैसे stage पे अच्छा बोलें, so they always look forward. And I think since childhood, I never wanted to imitate my maths teacher, science teacher, but I always wanted to imitate my English teacher. कैसे pronounce करते हैं words को. So I think हम किसी भी department में हो, if we have the art कि हम बच्चों से कुछ ऐसा positive बोलें, that makes them feel wanted, it will always have a very positive impact. So what I've done here is I've just collected a few words which, if we exchange on a daily basis with students, be it in our native languages, कुछ ना कुछ फर्क या असर जरूर पड़ेगा. Instead of telling them that I'll throw you out of the class or I'll hit you or dare you talk in my class, or a lot of times it is seen teachers even use words like nonsense and shut up and mind your tongue in the class, which doesn't look nice. Of course you can use it, but then respect begets respect. अगर हम क्लास में एक भी बच्चे की डिसरिस्पेक्ट करते हैं, 10 बच्चे और होते हैं जो उस टाइम पे बैठ के सोच रहे होते हैं that आज के बाद I'm not going to respect this teacher. And as teachers, you always have to remember, आप बच्चों को चाहे मार्केट में मिलें, चाहे कैंटीन में मिलें, चाहे कैंपस में कहीं भी मिलें, you have to be very, very, sweet. You carry your dignity with you all the time. और ये चीज वो हमेशा याद रखते हैं. These days तो in fact बच्चे सबसे पहले, let's say day 1 of the session, you meet them, वो आपका नाम पूछेंगे, आपकी क्लास भी खत्म नहीं होगी, वो आपको फेसबुक पे ढूंढ के बैठे होंगे, क्या पसंद है, क्या नापसंद है, कौन फैमिली मेंबर है, क्या है. They so much want to get inspired by their teachers. और जब हम इतने inspirational हैं, then why not use languages that inspire them? So, for example, instead of saying or telling a child that तुम क्लास में कैसे आ गए आज, तुम तो कभी क्लास में नहीं होते, आज कैसे हो. Another good way of saying it could be, I'm really happy to see you. Let's say वो 2 महीने में एक बार क्लास में आया, but instead of taunting him, why not make him feel really wanted in the class? And, oh wow, you're there in the class today, I'm very happy to see you, I look forward to seeing you more often. So उससे क्या होगा, उस बच्चे को भी बेइज्जती का डर नहीं है, and maybe वो ये सुन के शायद क्लास में फिर से कल आए, that my teacher felt happy to see me and she did not taunt to me on that. Next, seeing you always makes me happy. Let's say there's a child who bunked the class and you saw him that he bunked the class. आज वो क्लास में आया है. So, in fact, शरारती बच्चों की जब तारीफ की जाए, उन्हें बहुत अच्छा फील होता है, because basically they want to feel important. And if you give them that little importance, they feel very overpowered. Next, lot of times students have a habit of correcting their teachers. Sir, ऐसे नहीं, ma'am ऐसे नहीं, ma'am ये भी तो हो सकता है. So instead of telling them that, shut up or don't interfere or let me complete, fine, great, thanks, I took your suggestion. ठीक है, you may not have taken it in your mind, but just to silence him in a positive manner, I took your suggestion. Next, you've come so far. For example, in a positive sense or in a negative sense. For example, instead of saying कि जो class में आ ही गए हो तो सुन ही लो, attendance लग ही जाएगी, that, when you've come so far, just have a little more patience. Or, beta, you've come so far, that you're about to cross your limits. So you've come really far. Now, better be there. Don't cross the balance. So, something like that. Next, I was really impressed when you, again, ये कहने की बजाय कि मुझे तुमसे बिल्कुल ही उम्मीद ही नहीं थी कि तुम ऐसा भी कर सकते हो. How can you do it? This is unbelievable. किसी बच्चे ने ऐसा नहीं किया मेरे साथ. Another way of saying it could be, जब तुमने वैसा किया था, I remember that time. For example, let's say a child today has, let's say he was found, sort of influencing the other students to bunk the class. So you can scold him for that. You can tell him that, you shouldn't have done that. In fact, I remember the time I was really impressed when you gave such great answers in the class. So something positive. Next, I know you are capable of more. That which means I believe in you and I know तुम्हारा potential बहुत ज़्यादा है. So I know you are capable of more. Next, generally teachers की आदत होती है that, when they catch two people talking, they want to ask, क्या बात कर रहे थे, क्या कहा उसने तुमसे, उसने फिर, even I do it with my kids. I don't know why. It is purely time waste, but ये होता है, तुम बताओ उसने क्या कहा था, फिर सुनने वाला तुम बताओ उसने क्या कहा था, so, and then you mix and match if they're lying or if they're not lying. So what is the best thing? That please share what you two were talking about. So I would like to hear about what you think regarding whatever. क्या चल रहा है class में? What was your opinion? Next, if a child who usually doesn't speak in the class, चाहे वो गलत भी pronounce कर रहा है कोई word को, encouraging him to speak. For example, yes, you're right. Tell me more. What more can you think on it? Good. Keep it up. Next, students to teachers को बहुत बातों में thank you कहते हैं, For example, every day after you take the lecture, they're going to be like, thank you, ma'am. And teachers usually, ऐसे discard करके, oh, forget it. Where is my next lecture? I must just carry on. So it is always advisable to just spend maybe 10-20 seconds looking at them, genuinely, appreciating them for thanking you. Frankly speaking, in today's time, out of 100 students, शायद 5 या 6 ही होंगे जो आपको thanks कहते होंगे. बाकी तो क्लास के बाद सबसे पहले मोबाइल्स निकालते हैं, बाहर जाते हैं, और they just want to thank God की class over होगी. So if you have one or two genuine, people who really want to appreciate you, so make sure you return their favor. And of course, as I always say in all my presentations, that thank you is the least, I think, it happens to be the most powerful word, but it's the least kind of taken into account kind of a word. हम thank you को तो ऐसे use कर लेते हैं that okay, it just comes out of our mind without any value. So if teachers start thanking their students for little things, for example, if you thank a student who held the door while you were entering the class, or if you genuinely thank the students, अगर किसी दिन आप class ले रहे हैं and sometimes you feel that आज तो कोई disturbance ही नहीं हुई, so why not use a thank you? Or let's say if a student picks up a pronunciation from you. Kai baar, a lot of times it happens. I think especially with growing children that, one day if I might have used a word or an expression, next day वो वही expression use करते हैं. So genuinely thank them for listening to you, for going back home, remembering it, and then using it in front of you. Okay. Next, what I've done is I've compiled a list of very commonly used words जो हम mispronounce नहीं करते, but while using functional English, while using English for normal purposes, हम उन्हें गलत तरीके से use करते हैं. For example, the first word is irony. So basically, what is irony? जिसे हम हिंदी में कहते हैं विडंबना. आप expect कुछ कर रहे थे, कुछ और हो गया. For example, everybody was expecting that, after a wait of 74 days, and especially after the Sunday bulletin, that, Jay Lalita is going to come out and she's going to start, taking her office again. But what happened was, Monday morning that you got to know, oh, she's had a cardiac arrest. That was the irony to what were you expecting. But India mein irony ko humne kya samjha hua hai? Funny. Oh, it is irony that this happened, तो हम हर चीज को मजाक बना देते. Irony comes in a very, very serious situation, लेकिन जब कुछ उल्टा हो जाए. For example, let's say the family was traveling to Vaishno Devi for seeking blessings, but it is an irony they met with an accident. कि बहुत ही गलत हो गया ये, क्या होना था और क्या हो गया. But never in a funny sense. Next, travesty. Travesty का मतलब होता है, जिसे हम कहते हैं मुखौल, parody. Something that Jaspal Bhatti was an expert at. But हमने travesty को क्या बनाया हुआ है? Tragedy. For example, it is the travesty of time that politicians who were supposed to serve the country are looting the country. So this is a parody. ये दुख की बात नहीं है, ये एक बहुत ही अजीब किस्म की प्रॉब्लम है that जिसको संभालने के लिए दिया था उसी ने आपको लूट लिया. Next, very commonly used, ultimate. इंडिया में बेसिकली अल्टीमेट का मतलब होता है लास्ट चीज, बट यहाँ पे हमने उसे बहुत ही पॉजिटिव, हम तारीफ करते हैं. हाउ वाज द खाना? अल्टीमेट. अल्टीमेट बेसिकली मीन्स द लास्ट थिंग. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, डेथ इज द अल्टीमेट स्टॉप ऑफ लाइफ, बट इट नेवर मीन समथिंग ब्यूटिफुल और परफेक्ट और बेस्ट. इंडिया में अल्टीमेट का मतलब है बेस्ट. कैसी एक्टिंग थी? अल्टीमेट. ही इज एन अल्टीमेट एक्टर. एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग यूसेज. नेक्स्ट, बहुत कॉमनली टीचर्स ये यूज करती हैं. Why are you conversating with him? I want to conversate with you. Conversate is no word. I want to have a conversation with you. Why are you conversing with each other? Conversate is no word. Next, peruse. I don't know whether you've used it or not, but teaching is a profession जिसमें बहुत सारा clerical, written work, application, letters, notices बहुत होते हैं. So we have a habit of using this expression. I'm sending this, for example, I'm sending my CV to you for your kind reference and perusal. So what do you mean by perusal? कि आप एक बार इसे बस नजर मार लें इस पे. But हमने इसे किस सेंस में यूज करना शुरू कर दिया? डेप्थ. I've heard teachers in engineering colleges telling students, peruse it, which means देख के निकाल दो आंखों के आगे से. वो उसका मतलब समझते हैं कि ध्यान से पढ़ो. Perusal or peruse means to just look at something for small, for major details, not in-depth study. Next, bemused. ये आजकल बहुत ही commonly used word है, which means confused. For example, I'm bemused. Which room should I go to? Auditorium or seminar hall? But लोग क्या समझते हैं इसे कि इसका मतलब है कुछ entertaining, कुछ amusing. Bemuse in simple means confusing. For example, I'm bemused between these two dresses. Which one should I buy? So I'm confused. Next, compelled. What do you mean by compelled? कोई चीज जो आपको compulsion में आके करनी पड़े. For example, students are compelled to listen to the teachers. Next, nauseous. इंडिया में लोग फील ये कहते भी है वो नॉशियस फील कर रही है नॉशियस इज नॉट अ बीमारी इट इज नॉट अ स्टेट ऑफ माइंड नॉशिया इज द एक्चुअल रूट ऑफ सम बीमारी सो यू कांट फील नॉशियस ये हो सकता है दैट आर यू सफरिंग फ्रॉम नॉशिया बट नॉशियस इज नथिंग एज सच एनॉर्मिटी हमने ये वर्ड बना लिया है कि एनॉर्मस मतलब ह्यूज सो एनॉर्मिटी मतलब कोई बहुत ही बड़ी प्रॉब्लम या कुछ बहुत ही विशाल वेयर इज एनॉर्मिटी मीन्स एन इवल फॉर एग्जाम्पल सती प्रथा इज एन एनॉर्मिटी वो एक इनह्यूमन क्राइम है नेक्स्ट टेरिफिक टेरिफिक बेसिकली मीन्स समथिंग ब्रिलियंट समथिंग दैट इज ग्रेट बियॉन्ड एक्सपेक्टेशन बट हमने इसे कंफ्यूज कर लिया हॉरिफिक से फॉर एग्जाम्पल कैसी मूवी थी बहुत टेरिफिक थी मैं बहुत डर गई it is not terrific that is horrific terrific means something for example how was the bride looking oh the bride was looking terrific that means very nice next another ये सारे words teachers use करते हैं बड़े commonly disinterested for example if somebody asks you how was the presentation oh very disinteresting disinteresting का मतलब है आपका उसमें कोई ध्यान नहीं था You don't know if it was interesting or not. You were not attached to it. आप सुन ही नहीं रहे थे. हम लोगों ने क्या सोचा है जो कोई भी चीज जो बोरिंग हो अनइंटरेस्टिंग हो उसे डिसइंटरेस्टिंग बना दो जो चीज इंटरेस्टिंग नहीं है वो अनइंटरेस्टिंग है डिसइंटरेस्टेड मतलब फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई वॉज डिसइंटरेस्टेड इन द मूवी मैं देख ही नहीं रही थी क्या हो रहा है तो मैं बोर नहीं हो रही थी मैं कुछ और कर रही थी नेक्स्ट इररिगार्डलेस रिगार्डलेस इज अ वर्ड जिसका मतलब होता है बिना ध्यान में देखे हुए इररिगार्डलेस कुछ नहीं है रिगार्ड के आगे लेस लगाने का ही मतलब है कि वो ऑलरेडी इर बन गया है सो इररिगार्डलेस इज नो वर्ड क्रॉनिक आपने अक्सर सुना होगा बहुत ही क्रॉनिक डिजीज है उसको बहुत ही क्रॉनिक प्रॉब्लम हो गई है क्रॉनिक मीन्स एक ऐसी चीज जो बहुत ही लंबे अरसे से चली आ रही हो फॉर एग्जाम्पल करप्शन इज अ क्रॉनिक प्रॉब्लम इन इंडिया इट डजंट मीन्स कि वो सीरियस प्रॉब्लम है क्रॉनिक मीन्स लंबे अरसे से चली आ रही है हमने क्या बना लिया है सिवियर कोई भी चीज सीरियस है तो वो क्रॉनिक है नो क्रॉनिक मीन्स एक फॉर एग्जाम्पल हर ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स हैव क्रॉनिक डायबिटीज सो सिवियर डायबिटीज नहीं है डायबिटीज जो बहुत सालों से चली आ रही है नेक्स्ट दैट इज हम इसे कहते हैं फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम इसे यूज करना शुरू हो गए इन द सेंस कि उदाहरण के तौर पे वेयर इज दैट इज का मतलब इन अदर वर्ड्स जैसे अगर मैं कोई साइंटिफिक डेफिनेशन यूज करूं अगर मैं बोलूं दैट ओके दिस पर्टिकुलर प्रॉब्लम इज फाउंड इन होमो सेपियंस दैट इज ह्यूमन बीइंग्स सो उसका मतलब है कि दूसरे अर्थों में बट लोग क्या करना शुरू हो गए आजकल एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे डेफिनेशन देंगे नीचे लिख देंगे दैट इज विच इज रॉन्ग दैट इज विच मीन जैसे हम normally कहते हैं in simple words, in a nutshell, in conclusion, that is how you use that is. Okay. Another common word और ये Facebook, Twitter, Instagram पे बहुत आजकल trend में है, which is Panaceia. Panaceia means, something that you call in Hindi like a Ramban, a perfect solution. But it doesn't mean a cure. The other day I had some very nice English teacher walk up to me and said, oh, I found that Saradon is the panacea for headaches. And I couldn't tell her, though I wanted to. Panacea doesn't mean ek ilaj. Panacea is something huge. Ek aisa ilaj jo sab cheezon mein chale. For example, yoga is a panacea for all problems in life. Or meditation is a panacea. But aap ise choti cheezon mein nahi use kar sakte. Next, plethora. ये टेक्स्ट बुक्स में बहुत यूज होता है आजकल प्लिथोरा जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल देयर आर अ प्लिथोरा ऑफ वेबसाइट्स टू लर्न इंग्लिश ऑन द इंटरनेट प्लिथोरा डजंट मीन बहुत सारी प्लिथोरा मीन्स जरूरत से ज्यादा सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल शी टेक्स अ प्लिथोरा ऑफ मेडिसिन्स हम सोचते हैं मतलब बहुत सारी मेडिसिन्स प्लिथोरा मीन्स जरूरत से ज्यादा चीजें जरूरत से ज्यादा दवाइयां खा रहा है कोई एंड द मोस्ट इंटरेस्टिंग वन डिफेक्टिव Defective means एक ऐसी चीज जो टूट गई है. For example, a glass can become defective, a window can become defective. हमने तो defective दिमाग को भी बनाया हुआ है, उसका दिमाग ही defective है, वो defective piece है. Defective doesn't mean anything जो टूटी हुई है, जिसका कुछ missing है. For example, अगर हमें इंडिया में किसी को कहना होता है कि तुम्हारा दिमाग खराब है, हम कहते हैं तुम्हारा दिमाग defective है, तुम defective piece हो. No. Defective is not everything. I've heard people say मेरी सब्जी defective है. Defective is something जो टूट गई है. Your tire cannot be defective. Your body cannot be defective. Any non-living thing which is subject to being broken is defective. Last part of the pronunciation, just कुछ ऐसे words जो हम गलत pronounce करते हैं. And what I've done is I've written their wrong pronunciation on the left side and the correct pronunciation on the right side. For example, picture. Mischievous. हम कहते हैं बहुत ही mischievous child है, not mischievous, mischievous. Then GIF. A lot of people call it GIF. GIF. Next is coffee. It is not espresso. आपने brew या coffee के ad में भी सुना होगा espresso. It is espresso. Next, हम supposedly कहते हैं. Typical Indian English expression, whereas standard English says it is supposedly. Next is sharbat. The way you pronounce it in Hindi, बिल्कुल वैसे ही. But English में sharbat. Nothing is सिर्फ किसी के दिमाग की उपज है. But otherwise correct is sharbat in English also. Nuclear. You hear people say nuclear या nuclear. It is nuclear. Next, हम बोलते हैं February, whereas pronunciation is February. Next, specially, and not especially, specially. Library, कहाँ हूँ मैं library के पास हूँ. It is library. Next, etc. Everybody calls it etc. You know, including the people who taught me English, including the children to whom I'm teaching English. But the exact pronunciation is etc. Etc. and not etc. Etc. Next, athlete. But हम बुलाते ही athlete है. The correct way is athlete. Jewelry. पहले हम jewelry बोला करते थे. Nowadays we call it jewelry. And the last is often. जिसे इंडिया में बहुत oftenly लोग often बोलते हैं. Often this happened. The ideal pronunciation is often. How often do you go out? How often do you scold your children? Something like that. So what I tried to do in, whatever 70, 80, 90 minutes of presentation was to just expose you to a common list of words and phrases जिन्हें या तो हम mispronounce करते हैं या misuse करते हैं. Having said that, these are just very commonly used lists that I've compiled for you. You have a wonderful, powerful device in your pockets and purses, which is a mobile phone. Whenever you have the doubt, आजकल तो सबसे easy है. Type the word on Google, write pronunciation. वो आपको बोल के दिखाएगा. If you have a dictionary, use it, very often. And just make sure that as teachers, whatever English, functional English basically वो English है जो हम अपने normal functions use करने के लिए pronounce करें. For example, जैसे Americans या tourist guide से बात करते हैं. How much? This much. Discount? No discount. Costly? No. Take it. Give it. उनको language नहीं आती एक दूसरे की. वो तोड़ के बात कर लेते हैं. That is functional English कि जो काम चलाऊ purpose के लिए use हो जाए. At least teachers should make sure, even if they're not, convent educated or English educated, at least थोड़ी बहुत चीजें, कुछ expressions, 10-15 expressions ही use करें. And जो भी use करें in their daily life, in a normal manner, in a manner that your students look up to you. So just that. This is what all my presentation was on. If there are any questions, I would take them.